Hello everyone, I hope you are all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are joining us from. Today we're going to be reviewing loading data in Qlik Business as well as some best practices to keep in mind. First, a little about me. My name is Jamie Gregory and I am a technical support engineer here at Qlik. My main focus for the past 2.5 years within support has primarily been Qlik Cloud as well as geoanalytics. This year, I shifted to the new digital support team, so if you're out on the community, you may have seen my blogs on the Qlik Support Updates blog. Check it out if you haven't seen it to get the latest information regarding product releases and how-tos. However, today we will be focusing on Qlik Business. We will cover what is Qlik Business, look at the available data sources, review prerequisites for connecting to local data sources, talk a little bit about who can reload data, and then take a tour through Qlik Business. Our primary focus will be on reloading data, but I will share tips and tricks along the way. And then we'll end with a recap of things to remember as well as Q&A. So first things first, Qlik Business is our SaaS, or better known as cloud solution. It was introduced in August of 2019 and replaced Qlik Cloud for Business in January of this year. The focus of Qlik Business is to give you, the end user, the ability to collaborate with your teammates to make faster data-driven decisions using our enhanced and redesigned user interface, which happens to match Qlik Enterprise on Qlik Cloud Services. You have the same access to our core features as other Qlik Enterprise users, including the Qlik Associative Engine and AI-powered suggestions. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit. And instead of talking about logging into Qlik Business or creating an app, we're going to just jump ahead and talk about data sources. So within Qlik Business, you have the ability to connect to other web applications like Facebook or YouTube. You can connect to what we call storage connectors, which allow you to pull Excel files or QVDs stored in maybe Dropbox or Amazon S3. You can also connect to local databases in your environment like Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, and SAP. Our list of data sources is always growing, so make sure to check our help site to see the list of available connectors and whether or not they are included in Qlik Business. Now say you're trying to connect to a local data source like Microsoft SQL Server. The database is in your local environment and we need to make sure it can talk to our servers, which are external to your environment. So there are a few things that we need to do before that can happen. The first thing is to make sure that the port is open. In this case, since we are using Microsoft SQL Server, port 1433 would need to be opened. We then would want to add the DNS name to the firewall. The DNS name would be your tenant name.region.qlikcloud.com. In my case, it would be jamie.us.qlikcloud.com. Lastly, we would need to whitelist the IP addresses based on where the tenant resides. All of these prerequisites would need to be completed by your internal IT or networking department. We're going to time travel a little bit again. I've loaded the data in my app and I'm just reloading manually to get the latest information. I haven't had a chance yet to set up my scheduled reloads, so I'm just going through and loading the data through the data manager or the data load editor. All is fine, my teammates are getting the latest information, and as a group, we are armed to make the best business decisions. I decided to take a day off, and my colleagues log in to find yesterday's data. And even though they have a professional license with the ability to edit the app, they cannot reload the data. Why? Because I am the app owner, and only the app owner can reload the data. Sound like a familiar scenario? We see it come up quite often in support, so it's something I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. Only the app owner can reload the data, so that's why it's important and a best practice to set up a scheduled reload of your app and use a data source that multiple team members have access to. So now that we've reviewed connecting to data sources and touched on reloading data, let's go ahead and jump into the product so I can demonstrate and offer some tips to get you started. So I'm going to open up my favorite browser and I'm going to navigate to my tenant. So again, that's jamie.us.qlikcloud.com. I'll go ahead and enter in my username and password and click Login. So I've created a new tenant, and I'm currently the only user. When I first log in, I'm greeted with the Welcome to QlikSense banner that shows different resources to help you get acclimated, like the Onboarding Hub, which provides a 5-step process presented by our Chief Customer Officer, as well as a video tour of QlikSense. The first thing I want to do, though, is invite my team. For now, I only want myself and one other colleague to have access, so I'll go ahead and click on Invite Users and enter in their email address. If you have multiple users, you can use a comma to separate the email addresses. You do have to click off into a white space, and then you'll be able to click the green Send Invitation button. The user will get an email that they have been added to the tenant and steps to accept the invitation. I'm going to go ahead and click Done here. So now that I have my teammate invited, I'll go ahead and create a space for us to create apps in. There are 2 types of spaces, personal and shared. Personal will only allow me to see the apps, but shared will allow those that have access to the space the ability to view or edit the app. When collaborating, we want to put apps in the shared space so other users can consume them. So I'm going to scroll up here. I'll go to Explore, and then I'll click the drop-down arrow here, and then click Add a Space. I'll go ahead and give the space a name. We'll call it Sales, and then a description. You can also see that the type is already set to shared. I'll go ahead and click on Create now. Now, depending on your company and the way it's set up, I would recommend creating spaces based on your department. So maybe like sales, finance, procurement. That's a good way to organize all of your apps. So once we've clicked Create, you'll see that it allows you to invite your users, but since we're still waiting on them to accept the invitation, I'll go ahead and click Close. And while we're waiting, let's go ahead and create an app. So I'll go up here to the top right-hand corner and click the green Create button. Then I'll choose Create App. I'll go ahead and give it a name, and we'll just call it Sales Numbers. The space defaults to sales because that's the space that we're in. If you need to change that, you can just click on it and choose the space that you need. We'll leave ours set to sales. We'll go ahead and add in a description. You also have the option to add tags. If you have a lot of apps and you need to search through them, that's a good way to find keywords to search by. I'll go ahead and click on the green Create button here at the bottom. So our app is created. I'll go ahead and click the Open button. Before we add our data, I want to show you what the file looks like. So I'm going to go here and open up the file. You can see it's just an Excel file. It's called salesnumbers.xlsx. It has 2 columns, salesperson and transactions, and the tab is called Sheet 1. So the tab equates to the table. So I'm going to go ahead and close this back out. I'll drag this back down out of the way. And then I'm going to drag and drop my Excel spreadsheet to my app. So as this is loading, what is happening is that it's being loaded to the cloud, and it's being saved to a section that we call Data Files. So I'm going to go ahead and click Close. And now you can see our Insights Advisor has popped up. So now I'm just going to type in sum of transactions. You can go ahead and click on that there. And it's going to create charts and tables based on our data. So you can see we have a KPI here with the sum of the transactions. We have a table of our transaction numbers and then a bar chart. So I'm going to go ahead and add the KPI to the sheet as well as the bar chart. And then I'm going to toggle off the Insights Advisor by just clicking on the top right-hand corner where it says Insights. And there we go. We have a simple app created in about 30 seconds or less. We can see from this app that Leslie is leading the pack with 200 transactions, whereas April and Ron have none. So I'm going to go ahead and make this sheet public so that when my users log in, they can see the sheet. If I don't make it public, it's possible they will see an empty app. So I'm going to go up here to Menu and then Make Sheet Public. So a couple of days have passed now, and we need to refresh the data. Everyone has some more transactions, and we've also added a few new people to the team. So to refresh the data, as the app owner, I'm going to make sure that my file has the same name, columns, and sheet. So I'm going to go up to my file, and we can see here that it's called salesnumbers.xlsx, has salespersons and transactions, and the tab or sheet is called Sheet 1. So we'll go ahead and close that out. And just like we did before, I'm going to drag and drop it out onto my app. A dialog box will appear. It'll ask if we want to replace the file, so I'll go ahead and click on replace. And it's loading the new data. So this can really be done anywhere in the app overview, the data manager, or even on the sheet. It says that the data was loaded successfully. I'll go ahead and click close. And I don't really want to duplicate my sheet, so I'm just going to click done here at the top. And we can see that the numbers have been updated. We have a new transaction number, and we also see that Ben, Chris, and Ann have been added to our bar chart. So another way to manually reload the data is to go to this data tab here at the top, click on the plus sign, and then go down here to file locations and click on data files. So this is what I was referring to earlier when I said that your data gets stored to the data files. This is where you can find that location. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our folder here, and you'll see our sales number.xlsx. You can also see that there's a delete button where you can delete the file if needed. So this is another way that you can manage these files as well. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just grab the same spreadsheet and we're going to drag and drop it. It's going to ask us if we would like to replace the file. We'll go ahead and click on replace. It'll load the file in. We'll click on the green add data button. And then you can see that there's an asterisk here and our load data button is also in green. That means that the data still needs to be reloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and click load data. Alright, so it says our data was reloaded successfully. So I'm going to go ahead and click the close button. Now if I go up to the analysis page, if I click on the analysis tab, that will take me back to the app. I can see that our data has been reloaded successfully. So those are a couple ways to perform a manual reload. You can see that this last one has a couple more steps, but it is a good way to help manage your data files. So I did want to share that with you. Don't get me wrong though, manual reloads are an excellent option for ad hoc reporting. You can run data reloads as many times as you want or need, and the data will update so long as the data file or files are updated, of course. It's pretty easy for apps that only have a couple of data sources. Now let's say you have an app that has multiple data sources that would be too time-consuming to replace the files individually. Or maybe you want to schedule the reload instead of having to do manual reloads. In this instance, I would highly recommend looking into one of our storage connector options. Let's go ahead and walk through this scenario. So I'm going to go back to our hub. I'm going to click on the menu button and go to Open Hub. Click on Create again and then Create App. I'm going to give it a name, so we'll just call it Storage Connector. And then we do have to change the space here because I do want it to be accessible by my user. So I'll click the button there and click on Sales. Give this a description and click on the green Create button. This time I'm just going to click on the tile to open the app. And instead of just dragging and dropping a file in, I'm going to click on Add Data from Files and Other Sources. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a few storage connector options. We have Amazon S3, Azure Storage here at the bottom here. If I scroll down, we have Dropbox, as well as Google Drive. I'm going to go ahead and click on Dropbox because that's where my file is located. Then I'll click on Authenticate. And then I'm going to go ahead and allow the connector. I'm going to copy this authentication code to my clipboard, go back to my app, and paste that code in the box there and click Verify. And then I'll click on Create. So the connection is created. You can see it here. So now we can navigate to where our file is located. And here's our file, so I'll go ahead and click on that. Loading the file. I'll click on the green Add Data button. It says the data was loaded successfully, so I'll go ahead and click on the Close button. And it pops up the same Insights Advisor page, so we'll go ahead and put sum of transactions again. And we have the same results, so I'll go ahead and add in the same Alright, so my charts have been added. I'll go ahead and toggle off the Insights feature, and you can see that we have the same app. And just like the other app, I'm going to go to the menu and make the sheet public. The great thing about using a storage connector like Dropbox is that it can be synced so the files always have the latest updates. Other people on your team can also have access to update the files or ensure that they are the latest, so the task is not always on your shoulders. And if you happen to be out, you don't have to worry that the data is not going to be updated for your team. So now that we have our app created, we can schedule the reload. So to schedule the reload, we're going to go back to the hub. So I'll click on the menu here, open hub. We can X this out. If you want to add it back in, you can always go into your settings and toggle that back on. I'm going to go here to the three dots or the ellipsis. I'm going to click on that and then scroll down until I see schedule reload. I'm going to go ahead and toggle the switch so that it's active. And then we have a few settings here about how the reload should occur. We can have it repeat once, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. Each option will give you some settings that you can adjust. So maybe the date or the time or the day of the week even. So look through those when you have a chance so you can figure out how you should set up your schedule. We're going to go ahead and choose daily. We're going to leave it set to every day. And then we're going to choose our time. So we're going to have it set to run at 9 a.m. I'll go ahead and click the green Save button. So now that our app is scheduled, we just want to make sure that we have the latest file saved to Dropbox by 9 a.m. the following day. And I also want to mention that we do have peak hours of reloading time. So usually that's between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. your local time. So if it's possible to schedule those reloads outside of that time, it is a best practice to do so. That way you can make sure that your data is updated by the time that you get into the office. Of course, should something happen and the file not be updated in Dropbox before 9 a.m., that's okay. Once the file is updated in Dropbox, we can go to the ellipsis and choose Reload. So I'll click on the ellipsis again, go to Reload, and then you'll see that a message appears that the reload has started. And once it's completed, another message will appear to let you know that. So now if I open the app and I go to my sheet, and we should see the latest data, which we see the 931 transactions, as well as Ben, Chris, and Ann added to our chart. So we've walked through now inviting users, creating a space to collaborate, creating new apps, loading data with the drag and drop method, loading data using the Dropbox storage connector, generating insights, manually reloading the data, and setting up a scheduled reload. The only thing left is to make sure my invited user has been given access to the shared space. So I'm going to go up here to my menu once again, open up the hub. I'll go to Explore, click on my shared space, the sales. I'll click on Manage Members here at the top right hand corner and then filter by my name. So here is Leslie. And then there's some options on what rights the user will have. Can view, they can only view the data. They're just a consumer of the information. Is admin, can administer the space and help manage the members. And then can edit, gives the user the ability to edit sheets and create visualizations. So we'll go ahead and give her can edit and then click add. So now she has access to the space, so when Leslie logs in, she'll be able to see the storage connector app as well as the sales numbers app. I hope this demonstration helped give some insight on reloading data in Qlik Sense Business. It is a little bit different than the predecessor, Qlik Sense Cloud Business, so I wanted to make sure to spend some time with you all reviewing the process. So to recap, make sure the prerequisites are completed when connecting to local databases. Have your IT open up the specific port and whitelist the IP addresses and DNS name. When reloading data manually, only the app owner can reload the data. All the permissions can be viewed on our help site. Use the storage connectors when possible so the whole team has access to the storage location and can help manage the files. Create a reload schedule so no one has to worry about making sure the latest files are uploaded in Qlik Sense Business. And now, if anyone has any questions, we'll do some Q&A.
Okay, everyone, now it's time for Q&A. Please submit your questions through the Q&A panel on the left side of your On24 console. Jamie, which question would you like to address first?
The first question is, can you set up rules to dynamically assign users view rights to a shared space? Qlik Sense Business doesn't have the capability to set up rules, so you'll want to go into the space itself to manage the users like I just showed towards the end of the presentation. After an app is optimized, do we need to re-optimize after every app modification? So I would think it kind of depends on the modifications being made. If a new data source is being added or advanced calculations are being created, you may want to do that. If you're just adding visualizations, you should be okay. However, I would suggest reaching out to your account team for more assistance with that. So the next question is, how do you troubleshoot if a reload fails? So Qlik Sense Business actually has logs. So if you go and click on the three dots and then the details option, it's the very first option in that list. There is a section within there that says reload history, and you can actually view the logs there, and they should, help lead to the issue itself. If you can't figure out what the issue is, I would definitely recommend creating a case with Qlik support, and they can help with that as well. All right, so the next question, can you invite groups to spaces? Currently, it's only users that can be invited. It doesn't have the ability to invite groups. And the next question, what are the roles you can invite people as? So that is, you can have a viewer, or can view, can edit, or admin. Those are the three roles that Qlik Sense Business has. The next question, how can you add a higher level of security to this cloud version of Sense to protect the data? We do have two-factor authentication, so that can always be enabled. But if there is something else that you are looking for specifically, just let us know, okay? Next question, is there a SaaS offering for QlikView or Printing? I'm not currently aware of any SaaS offering for QlikView or Printing, but I'm in support. So I would ask your account team if they can talk to the product manager to see if that's in the works. Do you need to pay for extra data connections, or are there limitations? There currently aren't any limitations on data connections or anything like that. You have free reign over all of the connectors that are available. Next question, can you manage users by app instead of by the user? So I kind of think you're referring to maybe can you do section access. If I missed the mark on this one, just let us know. But you can do section access. There is a little bit of a limitation. I don't think you can import an app with section access enabled, so you do have to disable that to get the app into the cloud if you're creating it elsewhere. But you can also put in section access into the load script if that's something you're familiar with. Next question. Can users with the admin role be able to trigger reloads or add new data sources? So as I mentioned, it's only the app owner, but what I didn't mention in the presentation is that you can change the owner of the app. So if you go to the ellipsis or the three dots on the app tile in the hub, there is an option there for change owner, and then you can change the owner to someone else, and they will have the ability then to trigger the reload or add new data sources. Next question. Are there any size, user, number of apps, number of data connection limitations? There are a few limitations. Let me just pull it up here. So there's an app size limit in memory, and that's 1.25 gigs. That one's kind of hard for you guys to know how much memory an app is taking. Generally in the cloud, you don't have to worry too much about an app size limit. And then there is a total cloud storage. So if you're uploading files or QVDs or anything like that, there is a 250 gig limitation on that. As far as any user or number of apps, I don't believe there's anything for number of apps. You can have as many apps as your storage limits allow. And then users, that's an account manager question. It just depends on your licensing. It might be capped at 50, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Are there more data connection possibilities other than the ones shown here in this demo? Specifically, I'm looking for a YouTube connector. So we do have a YouTube connector. You'll actually find more connectors in the data load editor than going to the data manager. So we lived in the data manager today, but there's another option to go into the data load editor and create a new connection, and you'll see a lot more connectors listed there. Next question, should I be concerned with the size of an app? So we kind of addressed this a little bit ago. You do have just a 250 gigabyte storage limit within Qlik Sense Business, so I would be concerned about that. Sometimes you can see performance issues if your app gets too large. I haven't really seen too many cases of that in Qlik Sense Business or the cloud editions or anything like that. I guess it's something to be mindful of, but generally when you're working in the cloud, your apps are not going to grow to be that large where it would be a concern for a performance issue. Next question, how can you import an app using this service? So when we were creating an app, there was actually two options there. It was create an app and then upload an app. So you would just click on the green create button and then select upload an app, and then you should be able to drag and drop the QVF or browse for the QVF file and upload that app. And the last question is, how is Qlik Sense Business different from Qlik Sense Enterprise? So the biggest difference is that Qlik Sense Business is the cloud edition and Qlik Sense Enterprise is on-premise. So that means that everything is installed locally in your own environment and you have to manage that. Whereas when you're in the cloud, we are managing that for you. So you don't have to worry about, updates to the software, or if anything goes down, we handle all of that for you. You still have a lot of the same features. You might just get a little bit more flexibility in managing the system itself with Qlik Sense Enterprise on-premise. All right, so I think that's it for the Q&A. Thank you guys once again for joining us today. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. And thank you to Jamie for presenting. We always appreciate getting experts like Jamie to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.